Bryan Mbeumo has been Manchester United's best player so far this season, and this weekend against Tottenham Hotspur, Ruben Amorim used him in a slightly different position to fix one of United's biggest tactical problems. Now, the change that Ruben Amorim made is very obvious when you look at the average positions and the heat maps over the last two matches. This was the other week against Nottingham Forest. You can see Bryan Mbeumo here in the average positions, and his heat map is very much on the right-hand side. If we fast forward to the game against Tottenham, it is flipped. Bryan Mbeumo is now on the left-hand side, both in the heat map and in the average positions. This was a big change from Ruben Amorim, and actually quite a bold one. It's a bold thing to do, to take your best performing player and completely change his position. What we've seen recently from Mbeumo is him playing on the right-hand side, using his left foot to get him closer to goal to make him a goal-scoring threat. What we saw against Tottenham, though, was him used on the left-hand side, using his left foot to actually move further away from goal. But in a way, this actually worked really nicely for United. You see, recently, we have had a lot of right-footed players down this side of the pitch, and this has meant that constantly we come back into traffic. So let's say Diogo Dalot on the left-hand side. Because he's right-footed, he wants to come back inside the pitch. Cunha, when he plays over here, he wants to come back inside the pitch. Whereas, when you get Mbeumo and Dorgu both on the left-hand side, it sort of gives United a way around the opposition rather than always feeling the need to go through them. You can almost avoid the traffic. We know that the centre of the pitch is always the most condensed part of the pitch. It's the most difficult area to play. Well, by playing Mbeumo on the left-hand side, it sort of allowed us to avoid that. You can see that in some of these clips here. Manchester United are able to move away from the packed centre into wider positions. And the other important thing is the speed with which we could play. I think the speed is something that is very, very important in these moves. When you're right-footed, because you're taking extra touches, you're coming back inside, it's almost difficult to play quickly because it's crowded, because it's congested. Whereas when you play outside of the pitch, we know there's going to be more space out there. We know that these areas are often the largest gaps on the pitch, really. And being left-footed allows you to access them incredibly quickly. Rather than taking loads of touches to work the ball onto the correct foot, you can sort of effortlessly move the ball wider into that position. And I think in this game, away against one of the top sides, it allowed United to attack really quickly at times. Now, the speed of play in this game was also affected because of the characteristics and the personality types that we now have on the left-hand side. Typically, again, when United play down the left-hand side, it's a lot of players that want to come towards the ball. So again, Diogo Dalot, and importantly, Cunha. He wants to come towards the ball. We can see that in the average positions, the pass network from last week. The players on the left-hand side coming deeper towards the ball, whilst Mbeumo was higher on the right. Whereas this week, with Mbeumo on the left, you could see that changed the way that we moved down this side. Suddenly, United had more direct players, which, again, increased the speed. It allowed us to very quickly get at Tottenham, and it allowed us to play in a more direct fashion, I think, rather than always needing to carry the ball or do something flashy or take loads of extra touches. It was just direct runs, because that's what Bryan Mbeumo does. We're used to seeing it over here, where he plays on the last line, whilst over this side we faff about on the ball a little bit more at times. With Mbeumo now on the left, he's going to bring the exact same trait, just to the different side of the pitch. So he's going to be direct, he's going to run in behind, and that's not necessarily a threat that we've had in recent weeks. But now with Mbeumo on the left, the second that Bruno Fernandes picks the ball up in the middle, he knows he can play that immediate pass out to Mbeumo because he knows that he's going to be out there. And again, he's probably sort of naturally got more space because he's left-footed, he's more likely to play outside. Importantly though, for the balance of the team, Amad is still on the right and he is still a runner. In an ideal world, we would also have an attacker in one of the wing-back positions, and I think that's something that we can achieve in the upcoming weeks. We'll come back to that another day. But I think the important thing was the balance, that Amad could be the runner down this side, and we had Mbeumo on this side, with Cunha in the middle of the two of them. It sort of gave us this nicer balance and blend when we were moving forward. The other thing that we have to talk about down the left-hand side with Mbeumo in this position is just the sheer quality upgrade with the delivery in the final third. How many times since Ruben Amorim came into the club, really, have we seen United getting into a high advanced position down the left-hand side with lots of space and just no quality? Last season, a lot of the time, that could be Diogo Dalot arriving in the final third and just not really being much of a creative asset. We have also seen it from Patrick Dorgu as well, even in this game, to be fair. Overlapping down the left-hand side, getting himself into the final third, but then he's not a crosser. He's not a good crosser of the ball. Whereas Mbeumo, when he did move into those positions, it's just a different level. We are talking about probably the best crosser of the ball that we've got, and again, we've got the fact that we can do it quite quickly. Because he's moved outside, he's moved on to a left-hand side. So this is United turning a tactical weakness into a tactical strength because of Bryan Mbeumo and his quality. United get into this position all the time and usually fail to deliver. With Mbeumo, particularly if he was to play here slightly longer term, which he could do, certainly some weeks, you get much better crossing delivery. Now, the other thing that we need to talk about is the attacking threat that Mbeumo carries when the ball is on the opposite side of the pitch. So normally Mbeumo plays on the right-hand side. He plays with Ahmad, and these two are good forward players. They are excellent. Some of their combination work this season has been very good. They've been flowing at times. They've been able to get the ball into the box. They've been putting good deliveries in. The problem we've had is on the far side, it's been the likes of Dalot and Cunha really at the back post. So let's say Mbeumo works himself into a good position and he crosses towards that back zone area. Cunha, I think he can attack the ball and he does it in moments, but it's not something that he does that consistently. We know that he's a player that likes the ball to his feet. He likes to be involved in the game, so we'll often drop a little bit deeper. We also know that when Dalot plays on the left-hand side, he's not keen enough at times, I feel, to actually get round and attack that back post to make himself a goal-scoring option. However, if you take a couple of these players out, you put Dorgu on the left-hand side, who I think has improved and puts in a good effort to get in at the back post. Like you can see here, he's involved, he's in the penalty area. But also, Mbeumo. Mbeumo is a more instinctive goal scorer. He is less interested in the touches away from goal over here. He wants to be up here. That's the reason why he is Manchester United's top scorer so far this season, because he wants to be involved in the goal scoring. So now, when we cross that ball from the right-hand side, we actually have players that we can aim for. Of course, we've got the centre forward, whether that be Cunha or Šeško another week. But also, we've got Bryan Mbeumo willing to crash in at the back post, and Patrick Dorgu. And the great thing with this system is we can get ourselves 2 versus 1 on the far side because we attack with a front 5. So, let's say Mazraoui's got the ball, fullback comes out towards him. Let's say Ahmad is in this space. He perhaps draws the attention of a centre-back. Cunha draws the attention of another centre-back. We are now 2 versus 1 in this zone over here. And if they are both willing to attack the box, Dorgu can do this more still, but if they are both willing to get into that position, as the cross comes in, Manchester United can be so dangerous here. So again, by making these changes, by moving Mbeumo to the left side, we saw our crossing almost turn from a weakness into probably our most likely chance of scoring, and certainly a tactical strength. Now, despite all of these great positives, there was also a bit of a problem and a bit of a weakness in the system that we saw at the weekend. And actually, I felt that this setup really highlighted a problem that has been present for a long time now. We've seen that United are a team that like to attack fast. We like to get the ball forward quickly, which I think is a good thing. For me, I will always view that as the Manchester United way, rather than possession for the sake of it. It's about moving forward quick, wide, being entertaining, being expressive. That's great. But there's been a problem at times this season, and particularly in this game, that when we get ourselves into the final third and we try and get crosses into the box, a lot of the time, there just isn't enough players in the middle. And sometimes that's due to the characteristics of the forwards that we've got. Again, Cunha doesn't want to attack the box. He tends to hang out a little bit. Ahmad isn't someone who will always dive into the box. He'll sort of hang on the edge. The other reason, though, is because at times we move forward too quickly. And this game sort of really pointed that out because we were attacking even quicker. You see, that left-footed dynamic that we've been talking about allowed United to get into the final third. It allowed us to move the ball forward quickly because we were avoiding the compact parts of the pitch. We could access the wide zone and we can get ourselves with 2 left-footed players who could realistically attack or cross the ball within 1 and certainly within 2 touches. The problem is, if we're slow at getting players into the box at the best of times, and now we're attacking even quicker than normal, sometimes there's going to be no one in there. Like this situation here, where United attack very fast and there's just no one at all in the middle. And that was a slight problem and a real frustration for me in this game, because it's almost like we solved 70% of the problem by making our left side more dangerous whilst maintaining threat down the right. But then that last bit, the cutting edge, the good ball into the box and the forward attacking the ball, or forwards, we should say, was lacking. Now, there's an argument that you can solve that problem with different personnel. For example, if you were to put Benjamin Šeško into the side, he's probably someone who occupies those zones a little bit more. But for me, it's a case of needing more than one player in there. We need multiple players crashing into the box at every opportunity. Of course, we see it sometimes. There's no doubt about that. But over the past 12 months, there's been a theme of a lack of players in the box for United. And I think this was very obvious in this game when we were trying to create chances. So it's almost like we solved so much of our problems and then fell at the last hurdle. Now, the good thing is we have seen Ruben Amorim adapting. Just last week, I was very critical of the fact that our left side lacks something, that we don't have a proper winger down the left-hand side, and also we don't have enough left-footed players. Ruben Amorim changed that in this match. There was 3 left-footed players down the left-hand side, and there was certainly a winger with Bryan Mbeumo, so he deserves a lot of credit for that. The problem, though, and the criticism is that still the problem isn't fully solved. For starters, we've moved Bryan Mbeumo out of his optimal position, which long-term might be a bit of a problem. It's not ideally something that you would do to your best player. You wouldn't move him. But also, we did still have a problem in terms of the lack of numbers in goal. It sort of highlighted another problem that we've got, that we don't get enough players into goal-scoring positions. So it's a bit of a weird one. I think it's great to see us adapting and trying something different, but it's also clear that there are other problems that need to be solved. But having a player like Bryan Mbeumo and Ruben Amorim, a manager who at the moment does seem willing to try slightly different things, is a very good sign, because it gives United the potential to evolve and adapt more regularly in the future. And that is something that we want to see, but that is a case of the future. We've only seen one game of Mbeumo on the left. I think he played very well and sort of transformed our attack, but there's a lot of work to do still. Well, that's what I think anyway. You guys might disagree, or you might agree. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What did you make of Bryan Mbeumo on the left? Is this something that we can do more in the future, or do you want to see him returning to the right-hand side? Let me know what you think. And also, whilst you're there, if you could please leave a like, subscribe, and get notifications on, that would be great. But apart from that, we are finished for today. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.